So in 2024, how much does it actually matter if you're using Sony or Canon or Nikon or Red or whatever? In my opinion, not at all. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jake Weisler, and in today's video, I'm gonna be talking to you about why I switched from Canon to Sony. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't even want to make this video, mainly because it's already been said before and I feel like I'm coming late to the party and beating a dead horse. At the end of the day, the gear you use is subjective to your style and how you like to work. But because you guys kept asking, Jake, why did you switch to Sony? Why did you leave Canon? I thought it'd be worth making a video and kind of explaining myself and kind of showing you why, after 10 years of using Canon, I switched to Sony. In fact, my very first camera ever was this one right here. This is a Canon EOS Rebel T2i. This was the very first camera that my dad bought me back in high school. And the reason I want to show you that is because usually when you ask somebody why are they on a certain camera system, ignore all the BS about what they say about the technical abilities or the brand loyalty, whatever. Almost always because they started on a certain camera. When I first wanted a camera, I didn't know anything about cameras. I didn't care what Nikon was or Sony or Canon. I didn't know how to make money with my camera. I didn't know how to find clients. I didn't know anything. All I was looking for was a camera that could allow me to shoot videos. Honestly, the reason I stuck with Canon over all these years is because I started on Canon, which led to some golden years of using Canon. Probably my favorite camera I ever have used is the Canon 1DX Mark II. I love that camera, and I'm so glad that I was able to just naturally help my ecosystem go from my 5D Mark IV into my Canon 1DX. But then after my 1DX, I switched to the Canon C70. Again, I made the switch because I wanted a few technical upgrades while keeping my entire ecosystem of SD cards, chargers, conversion LUTs, and mainly lenses. And I used the Canon C70 for 2 years and absolutely loved it. Until this spring, where I sold my entire kit and switched over to the Sony FX3. And I want to talk to you about why. But all that to say, it's easier to stay with a brand and build on your ecosystem than to change systems entirely. We're going to break this video into two parts. First, the personal reasons, and then second, the technical reasons. Now, with what I've said before in mind, the number one personal reason why I switched is solely because I was bored of Canon. I was bored. I felt like Canon had stopped innovating. I'm one of those people that once I feel like I'm good at something, I get bored of it quickly and I need something to disrupt myself into that creative space again. There's that classic quote that I love, there's no growth in the comfort zone and there's no comfort in the growth zone. So one of the main reasons, and please don't misinterpret this saying that, oh, Jake thought he was an expert on the C70. I definitely wasn't. I definitely could have said, you know what, I'm gonna actually dive in and make the C70 look a lot more cinematic than I can currently make it. But as a system, as an ecosystem, my Canon setup, I was just bored of it. And because of that boredom, I was starting to be bored of filming in general. So that was the main personal reason why I switched. Purely out of boredom, wanted to try something new. So the technical reasons why I switched. And my technical reasons are really only threefold. It's very simple. I wanted better sharpness, better low light capabilities, and a full frame camera. Since being on the C70, which everyone knows is just a softer camera, especially coming from the 1DX, which is one of the sharpest cameras ever, the C70 just has a softer look, especially being a Super 35 sensor, that full frame, you don't get the same bokeh you would get on a full frame camera. And over the last 2 years, looking at my stills, I would always notice comparing it to Sony users that my stills were just not as sharp. I love that super sharp look. And then seeing the creator filmed on the FX3, I just couldn't get it out of my mind that I wanted a sharper camera, especially when it was full frame. I love bokeh. In fact, right now I'm shooting this at a wide open aperture at 1.2 on my 50mm, just because of how much I love bokeh. I love my background to be as blurry as possible. And after comparing my C70 to Sony, I just missed that full frame bokeh look. And I was also just tired of my lenses not looking like what I was paying them to look like. I was tired of buying a 50mm and having it have the depth of field as a 60 or 70mm. I wanted my lenses to be what I bought them for. I wanted my 50 to be a 50, my 85 to be an 85, and my 24-70 to be a 24-70. Well, Jake, why don't you just buy a full frame Canon camera? Going back to my personal reason, because I was bored. And if I was like, you know what, if I am going to switch cameras, if I'm going to sell my C70 and buy something new, why not switch to Sony? And the last thing was low light. These last few months, we've had a lot of clients where we're shooting at hotels and casinos and live events, where a lot of the times we're shooting in very dark environments. And when I was on the C70, I would have to raise my ISO a ton or use very low aperture lenses. But because of what these events required, I usually have to be on a zoom lens, which has usually a 2.0 or 2.8 aperture. So my only option was to be on a high ISO. And the higher my ISO went, the grainier my shots looked. And when you apply grain to an already soft camera, it's just not a good combo. At least not the combo I wanted to put forth as a production company. So when we switched to Sony, one of the main reasons was we wanted that dual ISO. We wanted to be able to shoot at 12,800 ISO and have it look just as sharp as shooting at 800 ISO. And we just got back last week from shooting a live event in Orlando, Florida, and the dual native ISO saved our lives for 3 days in a row when we were shooting in pitch black environments and you couldn't even tell. Now, as for dynamic range and color signs and external recording options and all those things, I know all the perks that come with the Sony. I also know all the perks that come with the Canon C70. And those things to me are great on both cameras. Those weren't the things I was looking for. The big things I was looking for were sharpness, full frame, and low light performance. I'm expecting to build out my kit more throughout this year. Maybe this summer I'll make a new video showing you my FX3 rig. Right now it's pretty basic, but if you're watching this video later in time, or if you're watching it and you want to see what I'm currently using, I'll link my kit below. But I've been on the Sony now for a month and I have absolutely zero regrets. I feel rejuvenated in my love for filmmaking. And you might think, well, shouldn't gear be the last thing that rejuvenates your passion for your job? 1000%. But also for me, it's kind of like cleaning your office or trying out a new software, switching from Premiere to DaVinci. Just that new added unknown makes you a lot more hypersensitive and aware of what you're doing. So how should you know if you need to switch camera systems? The only real question you should be asking yourself is, does my current rig hold me back from becoming a better filmmaker and making more money? And if there are certain technical aspects or personal reasons that you feel like your camera is limiting you, then it's time to switch. But this wasn't I hate Canon, I'm done with Canon, I'm so sick of Canon, I want to switch cameras. It was never that. This solely was after 10 years wanting to reinvigorate my love for the technical side of filmmaking. And for me, that was switching camera systems. So you guys, that is why I switched from Canon to Sony after 10 years of being on Canon. If you have any questions about my journey, leave them in the comments below. I will answer every single one. Or if you have any requests about content you want to see on this channel with Sony, just leave them in the comments below. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.